Start.
Okay. Oh, 110. Sorry.
Hello everyone, good afternoon. Thank you for joining in for this meeting of Brewers in April 2024. Anniversary, the 5th anniversary. So yeah, we are grateful that we are still going after 5 years and hoping for many more years to cultivate the passion for lifelong learning. And that is our mission here, cultivating the passion for lifelong learning. So thank you again. We are going to start our meeting today. I haven't asked Edo. Edo, are you going to present a book today?
Actually, I haven't read any fresh things, but I will, I will present my book that I read baru.
Okay, so we will have 4 presenters. I think we can have 20 minutes or so for each person. All right, so I will put in the chat the questions, the discussion questions for today for our book. First, the title of the book and what it's about, and then why did you decide to read the book, and what are your key takeaways from the book? Is there a question that you would like to discuss, and were there any questions from the audience? I will go first with sharing my book. The title of my book is How to Change by Kathy Milkman. How to Change by Kathy Milkman. I type it in the chat. And it's about how to change our behavior based on science. Because the author is a scientist. I think it's at Wharton, if I'm not mistaken, or Stanford, one of them, I don't remember exactly, but one of the scientists in behavioral study. And she decided to, and she is the co-worker of Angela Duckworth from Grit. Yes, School of Business. And she wrote this book to explain or to give us the gist of the science of behavioral change. That's why the title of the book is How to Change. Why did you decide to read the book? Because I'm interested in personal development, and this is science-based. Many other books are based on the author's experience or based on anecdotal evidence, but this one is based on science. So every concept that she explains in the book is based on research. They conducted research with hundreds of participants and then make statistical conclusion based on the research. And this book is the takeaways or the key learning points from all those research. What are your key takeaways from the book? Well, there are several things that I learned from the book. The first one is if we want to change, the best time to do so is with fresh start opportunity. That's why many people make New Year's resolutions, because the new year is a fresh start. We feel like we can begin anew. Therefore, people use this kind of opportunity to start something new, but you don't have to wait for New Year resolution. It can be anything, even the new week. For example, Sunday or Monday, you can decide to start something new, or a new month, or maybe you decorate your room differently. In essence, you just need to get the feeling that this is a new beginning, whether it is in terms of time, in terms of our location, maybe we move to a new town, or in terms of our environment. Based on research, this is the best time for people to change. They need to have the feeling inside that this is the new me, and there is a distance between me now and me in the past. So that's my first takeaway. And then another takeaway is we can change by building defaults. There is another book actually about this. The title is Nuts by a behavioral economist. So we need to set defaults. When we set the defaults, the right defaults, it will be easier for us to have that behavior. So for example, for retirement, I think in the US, they have this form and you have to opt out if you do not want to contribute to the fund. Instead of opting in, you have to opt it out. So the default is to opt in. And because of the default is to opt in, more people participate. That's an example. So we can set a default in our behavior, but maybe that is not always possible. So the next best thing is to build a habit. Building a habit is a kind of default. The next best thing actually, because maybe we have to manage ourselves. There is no external pressure, so we build a habit instead, because there is no external pressure for us to take a default option. So that is the next best thing. And another way that we can do change is by using gamification. Gamification is we try to adopt a new habit maybe, but we make it a game. So we track our streak, for example, or we give ourselves reward points and so on. So those are two takeaways. And another one is we can have queue-based planning. So if we want to build something, a new habit, we can have a queue. Whenever I do this, I will do that. So that is another thing. It is called queue-based planning. For example, after I have my coffee, for example, then I will read a book. That's just an example. So the new habit is built on top of an existing habit. That is another way to do it. All right, so I think those are some takeaways from the book. Is there a question that you would like to discuss? No? Any question from the audience?
Yes. So how do we make things default? Because usually default is done by someone else and then we just need to follow it, right? But if we make the default setting for ourselves, how do we do that?
Yeah, that's why for ourselves, usually we use the second best option, that is building a habit. So not setting a default, but building a habit. But actually, we can also set a form of default for ourselves. For example, if we set our browser to several tabs, yeah, I do it myself, kind of it. So there are several websites that I need to follow in order to stay updated. So I have bookmarks, a bookmark folder containing all these websites. So that's a kind of default. I don't need to think. I just need to click this and everything that I need will be open. So we make it as easy as possible to have everything that we need in one place. So it's like the default websites that will be open for me are those websites. The ones that and I will not miss anything. Another one, it is not in the book actually, but I just remember another way to apply default is to use checklists. This is not in the book, but I think this is a good application of default. So we have a checklist when we want to finish a task. Step 1, step 2, step 3, step 4, these are the default steps. And because these are the defaults, we just need to follow it and we will get the expected result. Maybe checklist is the best. My bookmarks is actually just a form of checklist. It is a checklist of the websites that I need to open in the form of bookmark. But there are many other ways to use checklist. And maybe another way is to use our alarm or reminder. We can set reminder at this time there is a reminder for us to do this, and at that time there's another reminder to do that. So that is the default time for us to do certain task. That's my answer. Any other question?
Sorry, still me.
Sorry?
Still me, Donald. I have another question. Sorry. I got an impression that from your presentation, almost nothing new from the book. Very similar to either Atomic Habit or When, Daniel H. Pink, Nudge. So is there anything you found new personally in this book? And then what is the scientific part of this that makes this book different from other habit forming books?
Yeah, I will answer the second part first. So everything that I shared is based on a study. The author is involved in many of the studies herself, so as a first-hand participant or first-hand researcher. So that is the difference from other books. Other books, they just use the author's experience or read from someone else, but this time the researcher herself write the book. So the difference is that I have bigger confidence in the techniques explained in the book because there is a clear research backing it up. And actually a lot of the book describe the research. What I just shared are just the conclusions, but the book describe the research with this participant, they do this, and the result is these numbers. So the difference is that we take the result more seriously and we know how serious it is. So it is like we can have a confidence level for these techniques. So that is the difference between this book and other book. With other books, the author claims that this works, but I don't know how much confidence should I put on that claim. With this book, I know how much confidence I can put on the claim. But because this is just a few minutes presentation, there is no time to describe the results. But actually, the main point of the book is not the techniques themselves, but how much confidence I can put in its technique based on the research described in the book. And anything new, actually there is nothing new as Peter already mentioned, because I read a lot of books before. So it's quite similar to what they say, but as I mentioned just now, what's difference is that now I know which technique is backed up by science and how the science back up the technique. So it's my confidence in the technique that is different. Any other question before
Okay.
Maybe just a comment. So I have read the book, and one of the suggestion from the book was to use some sort of gamifications. So basically, if there is something that you need to do, then you can put some kind of reward to motivate yourself. And one application that I use, I forgot the name, but basically it's as if you get some sort of experience, in gaming, you got experience, or you get some virtual money, or you get some sort of achievement. So I think by using that, it kind of motivate me. And if I don't do the habit, then I will get a minus point. So maybe it's helpful, although yeah, regardless, it helps a bit, but eventually it's up to me to pursue the habit itself.
Thank you, Fajar, for the comment. Yeah, I also use Habit Tracker. This is the name of the apps. This kind of apps is called Habit Tracker. And yeah, it is a gamification of for building habits. So you feel satisfied because you can get the points for getting things done. Thank you, Fajar, for the comment. Anyone else before we move on to the next presenter?
Yeah. I think I'd like to add a comment. I remember something about if it's asking about the setting a default. That is also applicable to us, so we don't need other authority to set the default for us. Like for example, the simple example is to limit your screen time on your phone. So the default is that limited time, but you can still opt out to remove the time anytime. So whenever you want, you can still remove that time limitation for the day. But since you opt for the default time is the time that you set limit in your phone, then most of the time you will adhere to that. Even sometimes, yeah, you just want to procrastinate and you can just set the time off at the day, but for most of the time you still get roughly that limit of time. And the other is like automatically transferring your paycheck to a part of your paycheck to a certain account. So you can still take this money anytime you want, but since by default you transfer it to this, it will take another effort to transfer it back to your consuming account. So there is also can be an example for setting a default.
Thank you, Eddie. Thank you, Edu, for the examples. Yeah, the last one is very good example. I think so. You have to automatically set up automatic transfer, right? And if you do nothing, then you will send the money to the other account. Yeah, I think there is also an investment plan like that. So yeah, I think the name is installment plan. Yeah, it reminds me of that. So the installment plan is you set with the bank that every month the bank will take certain amount to be invested into a mutual fund, for example. And you don't need to do anything. You just set it up with the bank once, and they will take from your account every month. So that is another default. Thank you, Edu, for reminding us with the default examples. Anyone else want to maybe last question or comment before we move on? Okay, so that's all.
Maybe a bit personal story. Donald, I did the checklist stuff, but I use Excel for it. And for some reasons, my mind cannot handle the way I missed a certain habit every day. It's almost embarrassing to look at, okay, it's like working out 15 minutes, reading, blah, 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 something like that, right? So I highlight if it's done, basically, an Excel spreadsheet. So I keep seeing the same thing is empty every day because I don't do it for some reason. And my mind for some reason cannot take it. So I don't know. Is that the purpose? Making us feeling uncomfortable?
Well, no, I think it depends on how we view it. So actually, I'm a developer. I develop my own habit tracker. So I use my own habit tracker. I develop it myself. So I design it exactly the way I want it. So the way I use it is I have several habits that are mandatory, and these have streaks, and I want to keep the streak for as long as possible. So for example, just from the habit tracker, I already exercise for 377 days in a row now. So that is an example. But there are some lower priority habits, maybe like what score is app, and the score is since last month. Since last month shows how many days have passed since I did that habit, and I rank it. So I know that I haven't read an article, for example, an article in my article app, I haven't read for 15 days. Now it ranked top. Now I prioritize that, and it feels satisfying to kill the top enemy, both because it's the habit that I have missed the longest. So I think there are several ways to approach it. Maybe in David's case, the is using the how can this number keep growing up? Now I did 20 days missing it. Now I want to kill this one. So that one feels satisfying, at least for me. So there are several numbers that we can use to handle habits with different priorities.
Is it Android or iPhone?
For iOS.
Oh, iOS. Oh, yeah. Maybe you can sell it or share it to people.
Yeah, but it's subscription.
No, I did not even request that. So Fajar can have it.
Yeah, yeah.
I don't use
Fajar.
iOS. I use Android, so
Yeah, if don't like to share it, go ahead, Khan.
Yeah, I will just type the name. You can search for it if you want to. It's called Happy Days. Okay, so I think my time is up. Thank you, everyone. For the next presenter, is Pipit ready for presenting?
Not yet.
Not yet. Okay, so Fajar, are you ready now?
okay then.
Please, Fajar.
So this is the book that we have discussed million times already here. Okay. First question is why do I want to read and or review this book again? Well, I think that in my opinion, if the book is good, when you reread it again, you will get a new perspective. And and when it comes to learning something, usually you need to review it again and again. And if you forget, then you review it again. So it's not like a one-time achievement. Oh, yeah, I have already read the book. Well, good. But if you really want to master the content, then it's important to review it from time to time when necessary. Okay. So there are some key points from this book. I think maybe you have already know about this, but this is just a refresher. So this is a summary from the author himself, the James Clear. Build a system for getting 1% better every day, and avoid common mistake. And I will just use a cool guide infographic to explain about it. So as usual, maybe the first thing is that the most important thing is that we don't we should focus on the progress. We should not chase the perfection. Maybe Pipit feel that, oh my God, the the habit is empty and it makes me uncomfortable. One suggestion that this book suggests is that maybe you can just try to, make it the habit so easy, but make sure that you keep doing it for a long period of time so that eventually it become a habit, and after it become habits, then you can increase the duration, let's say, or the difficulty for that. So in this book there are 4 laws: the cue, the craving, the response, and the reward. I think I will just pinpoint the most effective that I feel. I think for the queue, I think the environment is very, very effective, because if I, let's say, stay at home, usually it is much less productive. But if I force myself to just go outside, let's say I just hang out in a restaurant or library or just some random place, usually it makes me maybe 180-degree much more productive. At least for me, yeah. As long as I got a comfortable place for me to do my own work. And then for the craving, I think Maybe I should try this one actually. I forget I have not tried that again because sometimes I forget. And maybe I can try to, add some uh, something that make me craving with the habit. For the response, I think that, yeah, I think this is really good because I sometimes I also want to learn some new habit, but there are sometimes many excuses. So I think when I try to make the task very, very easy, although maybe it's so easy, uh, it becomes silly. But for me, as long as I keep doing it, I think it's okay lah. And eventually, it it start to grow on me, the habit itself. But I mean, it's not a quick and short solution. It takes some time. And then the reward, maybe I can use some habit tracker or some kind of reward. Maybe if I have done it like one whole month, maybe I can go to a fancy restaurant, let's say, with someone instead of just saving it up. Maybe that's an example. And this book also discuss about how to break the habit. Basically, is the opposite of that. Is the first thing is to make it invisible. Maybe if you have a bad habit of using phone, just put your phone on the second floor, and that may be useful. Make it unattractive. Well, maybe you can remind yourself on the bad side. Maybe if someone have a bad habit of smoking, maybe he can try to remind, do you want to die young? Oh my God, maybe. Increase frictions usually is useful for the phone. I use several app block, and it blocks my habit. It's very, very effective in my opinion. And create a contract. Maybe if you are willing to do that, if you break your habit, you should pay like 50,000 something. But it's up to you lah. Okay. Any question, any suggestion? But overall, I think this book is in general is really good. I think one of the best book that I read when it comes to self-development. Very practical and very, very good overall. Okay. Any question?
Any question from the audience?
You still uninstall your Instagram until now?
Uh,
Fajar?
I install it when I need it, but I uninstall it back usually. Because if I have Instagram on my phone, then sometimes I open the Instagram automatically and then suddenly, oh my God, I spend too much time there. And then I feel guilty again and I uninstall it again. Yeah,
So what Edo shared is very useless, yeah. So he did it, uninstall it, but found the shortcut. So it's useless.
at
Same
least for,
thing.
at least for me, because I have to log in and the password itself is cumbersome, it makes me lazy to do that. So maybe that's one way to do that. And there are certain features that is not available in web browser, right? So it makes me unsatisfied by only using web browser. Okay, any other question?
Yeah, I have a question. Actually, the first question is that is a good PDF that you show up, PDF or whatever it is, or to summarize atomic habits in one page.
Oh yeah.
You can share the source because it's just one page but cover everything, right, from atomic habits.
Yeah, oh yeah, this one, yeah. So I can share it to you later on.
Yeah, okay, thank you. And my next question is, maybe you can give an example of how you apply maybe one habit that you built recently by using these concepts from Atomic Habits.
Maybe it's more like helping me to break, maybe not to break, to limit the use of phone is by using the concept of adding friction. So if I want to use a phone unnecessarily, there are already two blocker that requires quite a lengthy password. So it's kind of cumbersome. And there are even some feature that completely block the browser, uh, completely block unnecessary application, except the productive one. So that is really, really good. So I think that's saved me quite a lot of time. In my opinion, what the environment design is the most effective, and to reduce the friction is also very, very effective to just to make sure that you are in a good place to be productive and make the productive thing as easy as possible. That's my idea. Any question? Maybe one more, the last one before we move on.
We still have time for Fajar, so still have like 9 minutes, 10 minutes actually.
Oh, really?
So from Ibu, any question?
I'm probably one of the people who is not successful yet to build good habit and remove the bad one. So I don't know. I keep reading books about habit though. It's just it's one thing between reading it and actually doing it, I guess. Yeah, I put a timer for say social media and it's ringing. Okay, already 30 minutes, but I kept continuing. So it's tough, tough.
Yeah, I think that it's a bad habit for many of us, yeah. For modern people lah. It's like a new bad habit for many of us. Actually, the author already discussed about that. It is basically called like the fancy word is that uh, the easy word is that your habit takes some time. You just need to keep doing it. So maybe the expectation, yeah, the expectation. People usually believe that, oh, as I goes like this, oh, I will be successful, hooray, like that. And the person will become very happy. But in reality, when someone start a new habit, there is some kind of plateau, like that. And then basically he has to keep doing it over and over again until it become automatic. And usually people keep failing because they don't stick with this long enough. I think the research say that it takes about, on average, yeah, on average, it's like 60 days to build a habit, which is a long time, right? And this is an average. It can start from like 2 weeks until almost 1 year to build a habit until it become really automatic. So yeah, it's not easy. It's not a short-term solution. It takes some time.
Thank you, Fajar. Yeah, Pipit, would like to respond.
Yeah, I just think it's so not fair because habit is so hard to build, but it's so easy to break. It's so
Hmm.
easy to break. If you miss like 3 days of whatever things you built for a year, it's suddenly become comfortable to not doing it, you know?
Hmm.
So
Like,
it's just not fair.
like kagok lah, ya udahlah, nggak usah lagi lah, nanti aja gitu. Oke, oke, oke. Ya, yeah, there's also everybody's similar problem. Okay. All right. I think anybody else? I believe that many of us already read the book itself, yeah.
I want to give a short comment
Hmm.
to Pipit especially. So Pipit, for the habit that we miss and then feel like I've worked for it for many times and then now I miss it. Maybe you can measure it differently. That is like what I shared previously. That is the number of days since you last did it. So in my case, viewing that number makes me like I want to put the number down to zero. So there's like an eagerness
Make up
to,
to it. Try to make up to it.
sorry,
Try to make up to it.
not make up to it, but so maybe for example reading book, not reading book, but for example reading book. I haven't read book for 5 days. The score is 5. It makes me eager to get it down to zero. But I have another habit, maybe let's say exercise. I haven't done it for 7 days. I haven't done it for 7 days. So number one, exercise 7. Number two, reading book 5. I want to kill the 7 one and then the 5 one. So there is no pressure for me. If I miss it, it's fine. But I want to reduce the missing number as much as possible. So that works for me.
I see, I see. You turn it into gamification.
Yes, but without the feeling of regret if you miss it. Because
Yeah,
if you
maybe
miss
that's
it,
the one I need to work on.
because if you miss it, you don't break a streak. For example, 100 days and then you miss it, then become zero again. No, you just have this number that you have missed it for how many days and you want to reduce it as much as possible. So that's just my comment.
Thank you.
And I think that once the streak is already high, let's say that I have already read a book 75 times in a row, it feels really hurt if I break the streak, right? Yeah, yeah. So that's another gamification that we can use once we get a high enough number. Or maybe you can make the habit easy, very, very easy. The book suggests that make it so easy that it's almost impossible for you to not doing it.
I think there is 2-minute rule somewhere in the slide, 2-minute rule, right?
Oh yeah, 2-minute rule. I think that, let me see. When you start a habit, okay, although it's quite small, but it writes when you start a habit, it should take less than 2 minutes to do. Wow, only 2 minutes. So of course, 2 minutes is always be manageable. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Maybe I think I agree that sometimes we want to have some kind of perfection. Oh, I do the workout for about 2 hours, but for those who don't like sport or exercise, it's kind of cumbersome when the motivation is not there anymore. So I think I will try to use that 2-minute rule, although it's kind of silly. Exercise for about 2 minutes. What the heck is that? Okay.
Okay,
Yeah, fair.
maybe one last question or comment for Fajar. Okay, thank you, Fajar, for sharing Atomic Habits with James Clear.
Okay, I will share the picture on the group later, yeah.
Okay, thank you. And next, Edo or Pipit, who want to go first?
Edo already opened his cam, so But your voice is very low, Edo.
Yeah, it's not super clear.
Yeah, that's my microphone. How about my voice? Still quite low.
A bit low, but we can still understand you.
Okay. So I will just talk louder. So the book that I've written, the title is First They Killed My Father. This is memoir that I read a few years back. So this is a book about the author's life, during her life, in her life during the Khmer occupation of Cambodia. So the story starts when there is a regime change, and at the time she's only 5 years old. And during that time, he is a family of a well-off. He came from the family of a well-off family. Her father is an official in the military, and during the regime change, their first response is try to conceal their past, so to not be persecuted at the new government at the time. So they go out of the capital city to live a modest life in a village and try to conceal their past identity as, uh, as long as possible until the situation changes. But that doesn't stop their family from being tortured, persecuted, and become humiliated by the new regime. So it started that after a few years living in a village as a farmer, trying to conceal their past, then it is discovered that her father is actually is a is a military official from the past regime. Then the father got marched away, and at the time I think she's only 9 at the time, watching her father being taken by the military to be killed and never returned. Then they have to live in a camp in the camp of the Khmer, where they have to uh, working in a forced condition. Only a child is only 9 to 12 years old at the time, and working in a forced labor camp with her family there, and also experience some of the torture and also rape that is during the time. And it's the story is really captivating because if we only heard the story of the occupation of Khmer Rouge from the history books or from a news report, we only see statistics, we only see event that is occurring there, we only see number. But here she told the first account of a victim, of an actual victim, and even worse, the victim itself is only a child at the time, only first adolescent. And then it also tell us the story of how she finally get out of their country to seek a better life. So he lived the refugee life going to Thailand, and finally he landed in to America. So the key takeaway from this book is actually about to be grateful at our life, because seeing such accounts, what we can only think is that how such event will shape her entire life, how those memory will still haunting her even decades after the actual event itself until now. And we even think that some of our worst moment in our life is really haunted. And how about her? How about her having to live with her past, and she still continue to work to promote peace around the world even until today, and how that kind of thing will help it for life. Yeah, that's all from my presentation.
Thank you, Edo, for sharing the book. Any question? Fajar, do you want to ask a question?
Hmm, Just curious, how does he be able to move to USA, right? He moved to USA, right?
Yeah.
Does he got a scholarship or something?
Oh, okay. So there is during the occupation there is a practice of illegal smuggling of humans, but the part is not a good thing. See, like you still struggling to be smuggled out. So because he initially came from a quite wealthy family. They still have some of the wealth that they keep, so they try to conceal as much of jewelry that they have, some gold and some gemstone that their family have. They try to save it as long as possible during their time in the forced labor camp. So they try to conceal it, chewing it inside their shirt. And at the time when they got information about there is an operation of a human smuggling, they start to take the chance. So they first send one person of their family, because there's her family is a quite a huge family. Maybe she lives with siblings as around 5 to 7 person in their family. So they start first to send one of the brothers out. Then when this brother is already in USA, they try to get one by one of their family. But some of their families will remain. One of the brother married in Cambodia and decided to stay. But after a few decades, in the last book, they told about their unifications later when Cambodia is already in peace. So there is still part of the family that lives in the USA, and there is still some of them that is uh, still in Cambodia.
She was the only one among her 7 siblings to move to America, right?
No, no. I think three or two of them is in America. One
Oh,
of the brother forced to marry in because of the doctrine of the marriage.
okay.
That the Khmer people need to marry as Khmer people. Then in the forced labor camp, the brother is married to someone that is forced to him. Then the only remaining child is the only remaining siblings go to maybe two or three that finally can go out of the conflict.
She said she was chosen to be the first to go because her family think she is the hope because she will get longer education than everyone else because she's the
Yeah,
youngest.
yeah,
So the family really believed in education. Everyone else already, if they went to high school, they went to US, they would be like high school or something. Well, at that time she was only 10, so still in the elementary. So they thought it was more schooling is more hope.
yeah. Because she also came from the well family, from quite educated family one. That's why her motive is one is education, to get an education in USA and try to get enough resource to get the rest of the family out, including her mother and also her sister. Maybe the one that can give up is only the sister, or the brothers remain in Cambodia.
Yeah, thank you, Edu. Any other question? I want to ask a question to Edu. So I think it
Yeah.
is a topic that is not covered much, the genocide in Cambodia. What I would like to know is how bad is it compared to similar things like in Rwanda and some other places, because I know very little about the situation in Cambodia. How bad was it, the situation?
The bad situation compared to other is usually the other part of the world is about conflict. So one party conflicted with the other party, but in Cambodia it's about ideology. So once they manage to the eliminate their opposition, which is to overthrow the previous regime, they start to establish their own region with their own view of the communism, which universally considered as a bad thing. Even at the time, the Soviet and China condemned Cambodia because how they interpreted the communism at the time. Even Vietnam at the time, at the end, they tried to liberate the Cambodia, even if Vietnam itself at the time is also a communist state. So the bad situation that the prolonged bad situation that they endured is due to this bad interpretation of the ideology that they have at the time. So that's why it makes it a lot worse than compared to other part where there is only conflict about between one party and the other party. This is an active, what to say, the reducement of their humanity.
Thank you. Itu something new to me to learn. Any other question?
It's just incredible. It was Pol Pot, right? Pol Pot.
Yeah, Pol Pot.
Even Mao Zedong was disgusted. So, but I don't know, how do you compare with North Korea, for example? Which one is worse?
I read both accounts. I think the Cambodia, even if it's short, it's still worse because if we see the figures of the victims, even the situation in Cambodia is worse than the Great Leap Forward compared to China that is so big, so massive, and the situation that in Cambodia only happened I think only 4 years, only less than 10 years, but the massive casualty they took millions of people lives at the time, both from the conflict and also the torture and the slaughter.
Or maybe it's one of the worst crimes against humanity in the 20th century, but much less exposed compared to others like Holocaust and
Yeah.
Any other question or comment before we move on? We still have time. Okay, thank you, Edo, for sharing the book. And the last presenter is Pipin. Please, Pipin.
Yes, the book is The Arab and Israel Conflict. Donald said this could be controversial. It's not controversial at all. It's, in my opinion, only talks about how we got to this point, basically. And the book, when I look at the title, actually, I thought it was going to be biased because it says the Arab and Israel conflict, didn't even acknowledge that this is a Palestinian and Israeli conflict. But then after I read the whole thing, I realized that actually the conflict was not only about Israel against Palestine, but also the surrounding Arab countries. That's why it says the Arab-Israeli conflict. And this is again the book From Witness to History. I'm trying to finish the whole series. I have 3 more to go after this. So it just coincidentally, this is next on the shelf. So that's why I chose this book. Not without any particular reason, that because of the current situation between, Palestine and Israel right now, that's the reason I read this. So that's almost irrelevant because I would still have read it even though this situation did not happen. Okay, so that's why I read this book. And then what are the key takeaways from the book? The key takeaways from the book is the conflict has been going on for 2,000 years. So it's not gonna be solved next year, judging from the long timeline. And it's almost like the egg and the chicken, which one comes first, is the question of whose fault it is, and how the world is not black and white. It's sometimes it's just gray and muddy and very complicated, basically. So, for example, after reading about the Holy Land, the at least from this book's version, actually they admitted that the first inhabitants of the Holy Land was actually the Jewish people. So it's the Judea area was actually this Jewish people, not the Arab people. But for some reason in 100 AD or CE, they started to leave the area, basically, in droves. So a lot of people started to leave the area in the year 100. And I don't know what happened that time. It don't say it has anything to do with the Roman Empire, but I'm not sure. Haven't read about that part. So because there's a lot of Jewish inhabitants left the area, then the Arab people started to come. So I don't know whether this could be a claim of who should own the area, but at least that's what the book implied. Okay. But also, why did they leave anyway? You get what I mean? So it's your decision to leave, and then if there are new people coming in, so whose fault is it? It's very we have strong arguments from both sides. Yeah. And then I also question about why those times the Jewish people were persecuted everywhere, right? So even during the Black Death, even before World War, so they were always seen as the culprit, basically. So anything that happened that time, they were somehow to blame for it. I don't know whether because it has anything to do with they thought, you know, they killed Jesus or something. I don't know. So there has to be something that makes them always be the first to be blamed for all the plights that happened in Europe, at least. So they were always carry within them this the feeling of being persecuted by the rest of the world, basically. So I think that one. And the one that I think also is important to share is about how the Great Britain promised the same land to two people at the same time. So I think this also created a very complicated situation because they promised the land to the Jewish community, but also they promised it to the Arab community as well. So which one is it, right? So I state here on my reflection, I don't know whether they lack of coordination or they did it on purpose, but they seem to promise the same land to two different parties, basically. So, and then they decided to pull out and left these people to fight among themselves, basically. So it's very irresponsible of the Brits that time, in my opinion. And it's so funny how, in my opinion, two people can be very different that they cannot imagine being a part of the same nation. So that time, the Jewish and Arabs were so different, they cannot imagine how it would be if they actually form or live under the same nation, basically. So that's somehow created the division between the Arab and the Jewish people. And then other interesting parts. Okay, well, they talk about a lot of, sometimes when a big event happened in history, it's an accumulation of many different factors, right? It's like, what is it called? Yeah, it's this happened, that happened, that happened, and then this, the result is this. For example, the Great Depression actually also took part in the forming of the Israel becoming right now. For example, because of the Great Depression, the US limited the migration of the Jewish people to America. So it left a lot of them nowhere to go, basically. So the Nazi was also on the rise, right? So a lot of Jewish people in this Northern European area had nowhere to go, basically. So they could not stay because of the Nazi and their influence, rising influence. They also could not go to America at the same time because of the Great Depression. So this combination of factors made Israel, the the Holy Land is the only place left for them to go to, basically, at that time. So that's what I find interesting. And then money plays a big part in it. For example, the US supported the establishment of the Jewish state because they need the support of the rich Jewish conglomerates in the United States, basically, especially in the war effort. So if they wanted to be supported in the war effort in the World War, then they had to mengambil hati, you know, they have to appease to the Jewish conglomerate in America. And then here, what is it? Yeah. And then also the Brits wanted to help the people Hitler hated the most, which was also the Jewish people. So actually here it says that actually the English people are not necessarily the British, yeah, not necessarily have sympathy for the Jewish people at that time, but because they wanted to anger Hitler, that's why they helped the Jewish people that time. And actually, even one time, UK tried to fight Zionism as well. And I wanted to learn further about this. Yeah. And then there was one trader, who was the king of Jordan, who made a deal with the Zionist organization. So actually, this king of Jordan took over the West Bank and then gave it to the Zionists. Yeah, and this is the guy. This is the guy the trader of the Arab world right here. Although in the end, he changed his mind. He changed his mind in the end, but it was too late, basically. So that one. But a lot of many different conflicts that happened during 1949, 1955, Suez Canal, all of this. It started all in a very unique way, you know. For example, how this Cold War, yeah, because of the Cold War, prevented the US and the Soviet Union to broke any peace deal in the area, because neither of them wanted to make the first move to broker the deal. And then the Great Britain and France adjusting their new roles as the second-rate superpowers. They're no longer the first superpower. That time it was the US and Soviet Union. So Great Britain and France somehow took the back seat in this case. They did not want to broker peace agreement. Also, there are no established enough countries in the Arab world that also could broker the peace agreement that time. Yeah. Okay, there is a very interesting, probably this is the one that, the last one that I will share. There's one interesting letter from the Palestinian refugee who tried to flee to Saudi Arabia. Okay, and he wrote this in his diary. He said, the Palestinians were seen as the Jewish of the Arab world. Yeah, so there's no Arab unity. The Arabs hate each other as much as they hate the Jewish. That's it. Because he felt like he was not welcome in Saudi Arabia. So we as the immigrant, if we're not successful, they see us as a burden. But if we are successful, people are jealous of us and they accuse us of taking their wealth. So it's a difficult situation. If they're not successful, they become a burden and they are hated by the society. If they are successful, they're seen as a threat in the economy, like taking their wealth. So this is one of the diary entries of a Palestinian refugee who tried to escape to Saudi Arabia. And then the Suez Canal, I want to read further about the history of Suez Canal, because the nationalization of Suez Canal also started another conflict. Yeah, this one. And then there's a lot, it's a lot, but it's just, for me, every time the conflict got renewed, there's always new factors that are involved. There's new things that added to the complexity of the issue. And the last one here, in the 1967, for the first time, Arab countries won against Israel, although it was not for a long time. And then after they won against Israel, they stopped exporting their oil to United States and the Netherlands completely. And that crippled the American economy from 1967 until 73, for example. So they realized this Yom Kippur in 1967 conflict called Yom Kippur suddenly made many in the West views the Arabs in a new light. And then after this moment, they tried to be friends with the Arab countries because of their oil reserve. So they realized after these Arab countries did the embargo against them, their economy became crippled that time. Okay, so it's a lot. I don't think I can share all of them, but my key takeaway is there will be 3 outcomes that are predicted here. I don't know which one. Number 1 is there will be a 2-state solution. So Palestinians should be allowed to also have a country, not just Israel, or they are combined into one single country, yeah, single state, or the conflict may simply drag on like it has done for the last century. Yeah. So I think that's what I can share from this one. That's it.
Okay.
And Fajar was cleaning his
You did it,
nails while listening. Go ahead.
Any question from the audience?
I think it seems that this book is more about description of what happens instead of it's quite natural, and it doesn't seem to blame who is the one that is the evil one. Yeah, Yeah, I think it's more like a description of or a chronology of his story. So I think I really like that. Maybe I will comment more about later on. Yeah.
Yes, the book also have some arguments in it, but from both sides. There's a letter here from the American conglomerate who doesn't like the idea of establishing a Jewish state. Yeah, actually, he said he was so sad because they brought us to a parting in the road, basically. So divided the Jewish community into 2, those who supported the Zionism and those who did not.
Oh yeah.
So
When was the book written?
2004,
Oh,
quite
it's
old.
been like
Yeah,
20 years. Yeah.
yeah, quite old.
Any other question in the audience? Maybe question from me. So I think it spans time span of like 2000 years, maybe, if I'm not mistaken.
Mhm.
So if you were to pick like the 5 most important events in the last 2000 years, what would you pick based on the book?
Okay, so the peace deal between Bill Clinton, Yasser Arafat, and Yasser Arafat is the leader of the Palestinian Liberation Organization. Yeah, you know it's Yasser Arafat, right? And the Prime Minister of Israel, Yitzhak Rabin. There was a really good peace deal that happened here. But then the Prime Minister of Israel was assassinated after that by extremist left wing of the right wing or left wing, yeah, right wing, I guess, yeah, of the Israeli faction, basically. So this was a hope that time. He thought it was gonna be the end of the thing, but then because he was assassinated, so did not continue. And then the last one, the next one is the Gamal Abdel Nasser, the president of Egypt. Yeah, Egypt that time. So this one, he nationalized the Suez Canal took it from the Brits and the France, French, that time. And then he also promised to liberate the Palestinians that time. And he did, he was successful in, at least in the Gaza area, right? So he was seen as the hero of the Arab world that time. Unfortunately, he got killed as well. He got assassinated again, and a year after that by one of the extremists, something like that. So then the deal also collapsed, basically. So there has been several moments when they hoped it was going to be the end of the conflict, but there's always something happen to disrupt it. Usually the extremists part of that particular area and then assassinated whoever broke the deal. Yeah, I mean, made the deal of the peace ceasefire deal, something like that. And then, the terrorist attack, the World Trade Center is strengthening the relationship between the US and Israel, basically. So right after the WTC, it's not the same anymore. So they increased the military funding, military aid to the Israeli government, because that's their only ally in the area. Try to combat fundamentalism in Tisada. So only 3, but I think the rest are very sounding similar to each other.
Okay, thank you. Any other question?
Okay, another peace deal brokered by Jimmy Carter, between the Egypt and Prime Minister of Israel. And then the one from Egypt got assassinated as well. We got 3 people got assassinated because of the peace deal. So if you can imagine, if you are the head of the state in the area, if you agreed to make a peace deal, then you will anger some people, and then they're willing to do whatever it takes to stop you, assassinate you. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Any other comment or question? Maybe the last one. Please.
And the first.
Yeah. That made me remember of the argument by Chomsky that the US really, the argument from Chomsky that the US really do not want any peace in there because they visit some state that is relying highly on them on every region, and Israel is the one that is rely so much with US in the Middle East region, because US used to have Luxembourg, but then Luxembourg have peace with the rest of the country, and they do not want to have another Luxembourg.
Oh, I don't know about the Luxembourg comparison, but I like Noam Chomsky and his against Zionism. That one I know, along with Bernie Sanders, right? So like same on the same boat. So yes, Noam Chomsky is. I actually agree. There must be some truth to it that the US doesn't want the area to stabilize. However, they did manage to broker several the peace deals several times. So I don't know whether that is small gestures in comparison to the big plan, or the, what is the master plan here. We don't know. But they did manage to broker several peace deals. And the one that was famous is by Bill Clinton and Jimmy Carter, both of them Democrats, right? Both of them Democrats. So I think, yes, that could be true that there's an interest to keep the war going, basically. There. Maybe military industrial complex lobbying. I don't know. I'm learning about US lobbying for a debate tournament next month. So they talk about every $1 contributed to the lobbying the Congress by the military industrial complex, they get $1,800 in return. So 1,800% of return for every $1 invested by the military complex. So they do need to keep the war going, to keep this money coming.
Okay. Ya, itu want to respond?
Nothing.
From Fajar?
I think my comment is that eventually it's every nation have their own interests, like is Egypt, they want to help, but they don't want to accept people escaping into Egypt because they already have their own problem. Arab also doesn't open to immigration. It's also true when there was ISIS, they were not open to refugee. And yeah, I think eventually everybody is focusing on themselves. Even at one time, right, when the King Jordan betray and give the secret information that the war is coming, well, he did it for his own side lah, yeah. So yeah, I think that my conclusion is that there's not really unification between good and bad, and it's more like a mixture of people who have their own agenda, you know. And we are Indonesia from far away. We can say that, oh, go Palestine, but will we do differently if we are in Arab? Don't know.
I don't think you need to look that far, because when Rohingya people were persecuted, we were the first to condemn it. But now we don't want to take them as refugees. Yeah.
Hmm.
So it's a total different, it's a big difference between supporting something and actually actively help, I guess.
Hmm. Yes.
There's a quote about it, like, it's easier to defend a principle than to live up to it. It's easier to defend it than to actually do it.
Okay, thank you, Pipit. Thank you for sharing the book. Thank you, everyone, for presenting the book for today. Yeah, yeah, we are going to take picture.
Curious, Fajar's book this time. What is that? See, Mathematica, as always. I'm gonna block my
You can take the
ventilation.
screenshot. Anyone can take the screenshot.
I can. What's your book? Okay. 1, 2. Okay. Oh, Edo close his eyes. One more time. 1, 2. Fajar ready? Okay. All right.
Okay, thank you everyone for joining in. So next month we will meet. The default date is the second week. The second week, which is
Check.
May 11th. May 11th.
May 11th. Okay. See you next month, people.
Okay,
Who is
thank you.
who is the moderator?
Should be Mbak Imo or you, Pipit. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Bye-bye.
Okay. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you, Fajar. Thank you, Edo.
Thank you.